to you from Sri Lanka. It is a pleasure to welcome you all to the live interview series aligned with the International Conference of Quality Education 2024. This exciting conference will be held on January 20th to 24th in the beautiful city of Mumbai, India. This conference will give us a delightful and a magnificent opportunity to set a platform to embrace the positive changes in education and meet the dynamic and spirited team of global leaders, personalities, inspirations from the educational field. The main aim and objective of this conference is to draw attention and focus on empowering and furnish the 21st century skills and uplift the spiritual well-being in children by escalating, boosting, and strengthening education quality by giving preference and priority to STEAM education, employability, entrepreneurship, greening education, and mindfulness. To make this happen and establish a favorable and facilitative environment and atmosphere, we'll be conducting live interview sessions with experts from the industry, which will make us connected and get familiar with the changes. So this is Shewar Suhair, Head of Early Childhood Department and Senior Lecturer from Amazon College, Bamlapitiya, Sri Lanka, your talk show host for today, joining you for this productive and fascinating interview, proudly on behalf of International Association of Quality Education. Miriam Da Rocha Afonso, a devoted mother of four, one of who is a neurodiverse and has special educational needs. Her journey throughout the education system, both in mainstream and special education settings, has endowed her with a profound understanding, compassion, and empathy of the unique challenges faced by learners with special educational needs in assessing the school curriculum and social environment, armed with a background in business administration, a Master of Business, and a postgraduate certificate in autism and Asperger's syndrome. She currently serves as an area manager in the Special Educational Needs and Disability Service for a local authority in UK. As a part of her role, she supports some of the most complex and most deprived families, children, and young people in her community, ensuring access to education and support from the other services. Mariam's commitment extends beyond the confines of the professional role. During her precious moments of respite, she dedicates her time to delving into the intricate world of childhood trauma and its impact on learners in a school. Her passion finds expression not only in the professional sphere but also on social media platforms, where she curates and shows valuable insights to support families and educators. Together, we navigate the complex terrain of education, special needs, and home learning, fostering a community that thrives on meaningful information and collective empowerment. Miriam ma'am looks forward to sharing and learning alongside each of us, and we continue our shared mission to create environment for every learner. Ma'am, I'm truly fascinated, overwhelmed seeing your journey and dedication to the field of education. This is truly a motivation, and your dedication towards your goal is outstanding. I'm intensely honored, deeply privileged to be on board with you today on this talk show. I would like to invite our president, the International Association of Quality Education, Mr. Janaka Kamalgoda, to speak a few words. Over to you, sir, with pleasure.
Thank you very much. It is pleasure to speak few words before you start live interview. We are going to conduct International Conference on Quality Education in Mumbai, India from January 20th till 24th. Parallel to the conference, live interview series will be conducted on in an online platform. We invite educators to share your best practices in this live interview series. It may be very helpful to all teachers, students, parents, and other educators. to improve quality of education in the global society. Today, we can listen very valuable live discussion about the special education. I wish all the best for this valuable interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So, ma'am, we can begin our program now.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Relational practice describes a way of being an underpinning ethos, which enables us to build and maintain healthy relationships. How would you define relational practice, particularly as it relates to fostering positive connections and interactions within a learning environment? Can you provide examples of your relational practice manifests in educational settings?
Yes. As an experienced educator, I have seen the powerful impact of relational practices on the academic achievement of special educational needs learners. One notable example involves a student with dyslexia who initially struggled with reading comprehension and writing tasks. By implementing relational practices such as one-to-one sessions to understand the student's unique learning style and providing tailored instructional materials, a strong teacher and student relationship developed. It is this connection that fostered a sense of trust and confidence in the student. As a result, the student became more engaged in the learning and their academic performance showed significant improvement over time. With regular check-ins allowed me to gauge the student's progress, identify any challenges, and make the necessary adjustments to the teaching approach. The positive relationship that extended beyond the academics, therefore influencing the students' overall attitude towards learning and their self-esteem. And I believe that this is what we need to focus on, is the attitude to learning, willingness to learn, and fostering that need and wanting to evolve. This experience emphasizes the transformative potential of relational practices in special education, showcasing how a personalized, empathetic, and supportive approach can lead to tangible academic success for learners with special educational needs. I believe that it's really, really important to understand each individual's needs and that we change and tailor our approach to support them at the level of engagement that they are. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your clarification on the relational practices. The examples explain the definitions better. When we talk of holistic development, it always considers focusing on the whole child, encouraging their physical, social, emotional, and intellectual needs. In the context of special educational needs, we often hear about the importance of going beyond labels to truly understand and support each learner. Can you please be able to share some specific examples from your experience where relational practices have played a key role in breaking down these labels and contributing to the holistic development of special educational learners?
So I can share specific examples where relational practices played a key role in breaking down the labels and contributing to the holistic development of special educational learners. So we need to have an understanding of the learner as an individual from all aspects of their life. From the moment that they walk into school, we need to understand the context in which they work, their learning styles, and any other factors that may impact on their access to learning. So the first step would be to build trust through a personalized interactions. In a special educational setting, I had a student who was diagnosed with autism, who was initially struggled with communication interaction, and displayed to what the typical or neurotypical would see as challenging behaviors. However, this was as a way to communicate an unmet need. By taking the time to understand his interests and preferences, I was able to establish a connection through personalized interactions. So what I found was that they had a keen interest in art and drama. So by incorporating art-based, creativity, and drama-based activities into the curriculum, he became more engaged and more communicative, and being able to express those big emotions that he was unable to previously communicate. And through that, we were able to change the way that the curriculum was delivered. This personalized approach helped break down the label of challenging behaviors and actually allowing us to tap into the strengths for a more holistic development, not just academically, but also as an individual who has great self-awareness and is able to express his feelings and emotions, and then to use that to then create the access to learning. The second step would be to foster good peer relationships. I'll give you an example of a mainstream classroom. So we had a student who in this case was also faced with dyslexia challenges or needs in literacy-based activities. I encourage the support of peer pairing, so buddying the student with another student who had strengths in reading. This not only helped improve the students' literacy skills, but also fostered a sense of camaraderie and brotherhood amongst the students. The supportive relationship between those two students formed in the classroom, it went beyond having the label of being dyslexic. It creates an inclusive learning environment that benefits all students. It's understanding that as individuals, we can contribute to the overall community. And that is how I see each classroom as a small community within the big school community. And it's really important that we build those relationships and connections. The third point would be individualized goal setting and progress targeting or tracking. So I worked with a student who had attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, so that is ADHD, who struggled with organizing and time management. It was through relational practices and collaboration with the student, parents, and supporting staff. Like I've mentioned before, it has to be a community effort to set individualized goals, regular check-ins, that positive reinforcement, catching the individual doing something good and really emphasizing on that, but also being mindful that not all children or young adults respond positively to positive reinforcement. So there may need to be some flexibility there. So by acknowledging and celebrating the small victories, the student was able to develop a more positive self-perception of their own abilities, breaking away, again, the label of I'm struggling with the ADHD, but focusing on personal growth, focusing on recognizing the needs, having that really strong self-awareness and building on that. The fourth step would be to promote self-advocacy skills. And this was a situation for a high school student with specific learning disability and the struggles that this young person had in advocating for his needs and wants. Through relational practices, engaging in open discussions about their strengths, challenges, and goals, we worked together collaboratively to develop that self-advocacy skills, including communicating with teachers about the necessary needs that they had. It seems that sometimes our children and young learners feel that there is a gap between themselves and the people that they see as having authority in the classroom or in the services that they engage in, and that language communication barrier can really impact on how they access the learning. This relational approach empowered the student to actively participate in their education. So it's about giving them and letting them understand that it is their education. They have the power to control it. They are in control of their own progress and involvement. And us as educators, as professionals, we are here to guide them through breaking down the label of learning disability, emphasizing on the self-awareness and building on how to navigate through those challenges. The fifth point would be to create a supportive learning environment. In a specialized program for students with emotional and behavioral challenges or needs, relational practices played a pivotal role in creating a supportive learning environment, emphasizing on positive reinforcement, active listening. And this is something that sometimes as educators, adults and professionals, we struggle with actively listening to what the child or young person is trying to tell us. We will often try to preempt the answers, give guidance, or make assumptions. And this can be damaging to the step one, which I was trying to explain about building that trust. This relational approach contributed to a shift in the students' self-perception and the perception of their peers, breaking down stereotypes associated with emotional and behavior challenges. The sixth point would be family involvement and collaboration. For a student with Down syndrome, building a strong connection with the family is crucial. Relational practices involved regular communication with parents to understand the student's strengths, preferences, and challenges. By involving the family in decision-making and goal setting, the student's educational experience became more comprehensive and tailored to their needs. This collaborative approach went beyond this label of Down syndrome, and it made the family also involved from a perspective of having that control, decision-making in putting a well-rounded program of support for their young child. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Learning from examples given from experiences are always better to understand the concept fully. Moving on to the next question, how have you witnessed relational practices positively influencing academic achievement of special educational need learners? If you could give some examples or some of your success stories to deeply understand this point.
Yes. So what I would say is that children or young learners with special educational needs require something that goes beyond traditional teaching methods. In most cases, these will not be effective in keeping children and young adults with special educational needs engaged. And we often find that they will communicate this unmet need through what we may perceive as disruptive behavior, walking out of class, or just disturbance in the classroom. But again, this is simply communicating that there is something in the environment that is not meeting that child's needs. So implementing relational practices, as educators, we need to try and be better at understanding the young person's needs. Begin to build positive and trusting relationships. Engage with the young person through regular check-ins and understand that their academic progress has to be in line with where the child or young person is, and not just in comparison with where the classroom or where, in terms of society, where we would deem a young person of that age group to be. So through interactions, the educators can discover what the strengths a young person may have. And in a particular case, a young person had ADHD and they had a strong interest in technology and really enjoyed hands-on learning experiences. So through this, we were able to incorporate technology into the lessons, allowing the young person to use devices for research, for presentations, and interactive activities. Now, this has to be identified not just when they reach higher education, so that would be university, or even secondary school, where they have more access to computers. I believe that this has to be recognized from a very young age in terms of what their strengths are. And if technology is one of them, we need to be empowering the child or young person in that, recognizing that is a strength, that they are able to communicate and engage in learning through this aid, which is technology. Also providing clear instructions. Sometimes that may come as a form of visual aids. However, when we look at a young person who has ADHD and may process communication really, really fast, there may be steps that will be missed. So if I give an instruction such as, could you pick up your book, sit down on the carpet and open page 10? Now, there are steps that from a processing capacity that we may have missed. What does it mean for this child to get the book? It may mean that they need to think about, where are they in the environment? Are they playing with friends? Do they need to put something away first? So we need to really be clear and break down the instructions so that they understand what is expected and what is required. They need to have a clear picture of what good looks like at each particular stage. Having flexible seating and breaks. So this may incorporate movement breaks. For example, if you see a young person getting dysregulated, not being able to manage some of the instructions, you may say, could you please bring me the book from the shelf? And that will allow the young person to break from the dysregulation or what was causing the dysregulation, and to then come back and more relaxed. You could also incorporate mental breaks. So it could be a whole class or just to the individual, depending on how they feel in terms of peers not wanting to be different. So this could look like, to the whole class, it may look like, could anyone think what you had for dinner or for lunch in school yesterday? So that will take everyone's mind away from what could have possibly triggered the child or even the whole class. Also having positive reinforcement, as I've explained before, focusing on positive outcomes, ensuring that they are also informed of where they are in their progress, making them feel involved, making them feel empowered, and allowing them to express where they feel they should be on what they feel is positive for them. They need to be having that advocacy. Enhancing their social skills, allowing them to be able to communicate in a way that is at their level, either it being via visual aids, technology, and also being aware of if they are dealing with big emotions, they may not be able to tap into the side of the brain that will be able to allow them to expressively communicate their needs. And also having a strengthened parent-to-school partnership. Educators maintaining an open communication with parents, keeping them informed of progress, involving them in decision-making. So not only communicating to parents when there's an area of need or if there's been incidents, but also building on that positive reinforcement with families and parents so that they can see the child not just from a deficit perspective, but from a positive and evolving approach. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, during one of my research, I came across a phrase called ripple effect. I just looked up the meaning of this and I got to know that ripple effect occurs when the teacher corrects a misbehavior in one student and this positively influences the behavior of the other nearby student. The ripple effect is influenced by the clarity and the firmness of the correction. Ma'am, can you please elaborate from your experiences, how have relational practices contributed to the ripple effect in the broader dynamics of the school environment? And what changes have you observed in the overall school culture?
Thank you. So I have consistently witnessed a significant impact of relational practices on creating a positive ripple effect throughout the broader dynamics of the school environment. Relational practices such as fostering strong connections among staff, students, and parents have proven instrumental in shaping a more inclusive and collaborative school culture. One notable example involves the implementation of regular team building activities and collaborative decision-making processes. So it's about involving and having the relational practices, not just at classroom level, but also between us as educators, between teachers in the coffee room, between teachers and the support staff in the kitchen, the cleaners. It has to be embedded in the school culture. These initiatives not only strengthen the bonds among the faculty members, but also improve communication channels, fostering a sense of shared responsibility for the school's success, but also a sense of belonging to that community. This sense of belonging and shared responsibility, it immediately has an effect on the willingness of educators to want to go the extra mile for their students, but also for their colleagues. The ripple effect extends to the classroom where teachers inspired by the collaborative ethos around the school, the atmosphere, has embraced more student-centered approaches, and this shift has led to increased engagement and participation among students. Furthermore, the emphasis on open communication has created a more supportive atmosphere for students with diverse needs, contributing to a more inclusive but also welcoming learning environment. It's about, like I've said initially, as soon as that child, young person, parent, and colleague walks through the school doors, what do they feel? Parental involvement has also seen positive changes. Through relational practices such as regular parent-teacher conferences, workshops, and events that encourage parental participation, the school has witnessed increased support from families. And I also believe that this is important in creating a ripple effect into the home environment. And that needs to be a really strong connection that the young person can see the parent or carer in the school environment celebrating their success, empowering the student, but also creating that bond and transferring those strategies into the home environment. As you may hear often, or especially in my endeavors through the social media, I note that some parents struggle to create that attachment relationship with young adults and sometimes teenagers, but having a presence, embodying the same ethos that the school is doing at the class, in the classrooms and at school, and the child then seeing that ripple effect into the home. The adult has now been able to spend quality time with the child and young person. It then transfers back into the school environment because they are having what we call, children and young adults. They want the adult's attention. And we hear this often in schools, in the classrooms. They are behaving like this to get my attention. So why are we not, as a community, being proactive and showing them the right way through relational practices and having a culture, not just at school, but also at home? So as the school culture evolved to prioritize relational practices, there has been noticeable decrease in instances of conflict and an increase in effective conflict resolution. And that's the key point. The emphasis on empathy, compassion, acceptance, and understanding has created a more harmonious environment, fostering collective commitment to the well-being of the children, well-being of the teachers and adults supporting the children to deliver a success in every member of the school community. And like I said, this involves the well-being of the head teacher, the well-being of the senior leadership, the well-being of the SENCO, the well-being of the staff in the kitchen, the well-being of the cleaners, because everyone around forms part of the child and young person's environment, and any dysregulation in the adults will be picked up by the child or young person, which will then be communicated as what some may see as challenging behavior. So it's about having that proactiveness. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. This ripple effect seems to really have a positive change. Ma'am, when dealing with special educational needs and implementing relational practices, I'm definitely sure there might be many challenges faced, as according to their needs, their methodology, the behaviors. What challenges do educators commonly face when implementing relational practices with special need learners? And how can these challenges be addressed to ensure a more inclusive learning environment?
So implementing relational practices with learners with special educational needs is a noble yet complex endeavor or journey that comes with unique set challenges. These challenges, when addressed strategically, can pave the way for a more inclusive learning environment that caters to the diverse needs of all students. So, step one, understanding the diverse needs. The challenge here is learners with special educational needs often have diverse, complex, multi-layered needs, and educators may face the challenge of understanding, addressing, and accepting these unique requirements. So in terms of addressing the challenge, professional development opportunities focused on special educational needs, collaboration with special education experts, and ongoing training can enhance the educator's understanding of diverse needs. Sometimes this may look like a multi-agency meeting. It can look like a teacher, head teacher, taking on that proactiveness and actually engaging with different social media platforms. So this is readily and free available to anyone. But also taking on the next step. Is there any workshops that I could attend? Is there any conferences? Is there any seminars or any degrees that you may want to take? But what I would say is, in terms of understanding a young person's needs, the person itself is the biggest source of information. Every person is different, every child is different. And if you group that with other complex needs, such as trauma, and different factors, societal factors, economic factors, it can really paint a picture of how complex and how much effort and input us as educators and as adults need to put into trying to understand. But then there needs to be a level of acceptance that this is who they are, and how can we then bridge the gap into what the child or young person wants to be and support them through that journey. The second challenge may be around the individualization of the support. So tailoring that instruction to the individuals, not just learning styles, learning abilities, special educational needs, trauma, and other complex needs can be truly challenging, because we, as educators, we may read and research a lot of things, but it doesn't always mean that it will work. So it's about being proactive and agile, flexible to where the child is. Implementing differentiated instruction strategies, leveraging technology for personalized learning, and utilizing flexible teaching methods allow educators to better address the diverse learning needs of students with special educational needs. And I just wanted to touch upon the differentiated instruction strategies, that it doesn't always work with just having simpler worksheets. It may be the way that you communicate has to change. It may be that your body language needs to change. And it may be that the colors in the classroom need to change, because depending on who you are working with, the child with special educational needs may also have sensory needs, and that is to touch, hearing, visual. So all of that needs to be understood. And like I said, the child or the young person, and sometimes the parents, depending if they are nonverbal, would be the main source of information. Third challenge would be to build the trust and communication. As we know, learners with special educational needs may also struggle with communicating and advocating for themselves, expressing how they are feeling, and especially if they are in a moment of dysregulation and they are highly, they are being triggered and feeling overwhelmed, how will they communicate what they need to support them? It's us having that understanding and being able to read their body language, being able to understand and pick up on early triggers to try and put the support in place, and building that trust is something that educators can really struggle with. So prioritizing relationship building through one-to-one interactions, small group interactions, to use that peer-to-peer support, active listening. And again, active listening is something that we also struggle with. Creating a safe and supportive environment can foster trust. And there are different therapies that can also help with this. Play therapy is something that can also be used. So it's about exploring, and again, what do they like? What are their interests? What can I help them with? Establishing consistent communication channels with parents and caregivers and support staff is crucial to maintaining an open line of dialogue to promote progress and well-being of the students. Collaborating with support services, like I've mentioned, that it could be through a multi-agency, coordinating with other support services such as speech therapists, occupational therapists, can be difficult, especially in an environment where so many schools are having funding difficulties and having less resources, but still having to deliver high quality of education can be a real struggle. So in this case, having that collaborative, implementing a collaborative team approach where ideas can flourish, being creative with solutions, and actually being honest of where the school is. And perhaps in meetings, we may need to say, as a school, we really struggle with this. As a school, we need to be better at this. It's having that self-awareness as a school community of where we are, where we want to be, and what is the gap and the work that needs to be put in to achieve our goals. But this, in the current climate of funding issues and lack of resources across the globe for various reasons, it's being creative. And I'll give you one example of mobile schools where you will have boats that, you know, the children and young adults will hop into the boat and they can be educated because they have there is no way of them being able to reach the school, or sometimes maybe there isn't a school, and if they live in nearby a river, it's about being creative and providing. It is our responsibility to provide the child with the access to education. So I gave the example of the mobile school as a really, you know, extreme situation, but through doing some of my research, I understand that this is what some countries are actually having to do to provide the children and young adult with an education. Balancing individualized support and group dynamics can be also demanding for educators. So incorporating a mix of group activities allows for personalized attention while fostering a sense of community. And also, as educators, we can mentor each other. We can cooperatively learn different strategies from each other. Overcoming stigmas and stereotypes. So having negative stereotypes and stigmas associated with autism, ADHD, that you sometimes can often hear that, oh, they have bad behavior, or the word naughty being used. It's moving away from those things. The child or young person, where they are, they do not have the language, the brain development. Sometimes if they are dysregulated, they are not able to reach the right side of the brain to be able to communicate what they need. So their expression of what they are feeling may sometimes not be viewed as acceptable to us, but it still needs to be accepted. And through the self-awareness, through that acceptance, empathy, compassion, we need to be able to build that trust so that next time they're having these big emotions, oh, I don't know who to talk to, I don't know what to say, I can go, they can build the strategies and they will come to us next time and say, Miss Miriam, I don't know what to do. And that is when you know all the work you have put in through the years, because it takes time, through months of research, reading, collaborating, working with parents. That one word, I need help.
Yes.
And you know, you have achieved something. And it's that sense of pride and taking in the small steps that, for example, if before they used to hit another child when they were overwhelmed, this time they are kicking the door.
Yes.
It's a small step of progress. They were able to process, I'm unhappy, I don't know what to do. I normally hit people, but let me hit the door instead. It's a progress. It's okay, now we are hitting the door. What can we progress to? Write down or scrunch a piece of paper and small steps of progress and celebrating that. I've already touched on resources limitation. So again, it's being creative, working with the community, and seeing as well what is out there in the community in terms of sponsors and partnerships, exploring that innovative solution, working with others, not just as a school community, but could it be between schools? Could it be with the local sports service, and just trying to be creative and like that. So in conclusion, addressing the challenges of implementing relational practices for learners with special educational needs requires a multifaceted and collaborative approach.
True, ma'am. Thank you very much. These are very
Thank
good
you.
ways one can address the challenges in an effective manner and very fruitful methods indeed. A teacher who shares a good measure of communication and mutual respect with his or her students show equality, encouragement, and positive attitude towards students and strives to create a safe learning environment in the classroom is certainly able to develop a strong student bonding, teacher-student bonding. I hope you agree on this.
Yeah.
In your opinion, how does the creation of strong bonds between educators, students, and other stakeholders contribute to inspiring minds and fostering a positive learning atmosphere, particularly in the context of learners with special educational needs?
In my opinion, the creation of strong bonds between educators, students, and other stakeholders is paramount. For inspiring, this word is so crucial in the world of education, inspiring minds and fostering a positive learning atmosphere, specifically in the context of learners with special educational needs. The strong bonds contribute in so many ways.
Yes.
I'll give you a few. So trust and emotional safety. Strong bonds create a foundation of trust between educators, students, and with special educational needs. This trust is essential for establishing emotional safety, allowing the learners to feel secure in expressing themselves, taking academic risks, being able to be comfortable with making mistakes, and engaging in the learning process without fear of judgment and fear of not being accepted for who they are. Individualized support and understanding would be the second. When strong bonds exist, educators are better positioned to understand the unique strengths, challenges, and learning styles of each student with special educational needs. This understanding enables for compassion and empathy, but also the tailoring of the instructional approaches and support mechanisms to meet those child's needs, promoting a more inclusive and effective learning environment. The third one would be enhanced communication. So open and strong bonds facilitate effective communication, not only between educators and students, but also with parents and support staff and other stakeholders. Regular and transparent communication, like I've mentioned before, that honesty that as a school we are able to communicate, this is where we need to be better at. Ensures that everyone involved in the education of learners with special educational needs is on the same page, fostering a collaborative and supportive network. You will often hear children or young adults say that teachers or adults have lied to them. Sometimes it's through honesty. I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you needed help at that time, but now that you've told me, I know what to do. Or next time, if you are feeling like this, because I sometimes find it difficult to know if you want me to come in and help or not, can you give me a signal? It's that honesty, negotiation, communication, so that they feel that we are listening, we want to listen. Increased motivation and engagement would be the fourth one. So for learners with special educational needs, feeling connected to their educators and peers is a powerful motivator. And I think I've used the word before, attachment. Having that child to adult attachment is crucial above any and all other attachments, especially if it's peer-to-peer attachment, because as an adult, we can be that regulated and ready to listen adult for them. Whereas if it's peer-to-peer attachment, we are essentially putting a big responsibility on another child or another young adult to model the behaviors that we expect from them.
Very true.
Yeah, and it can be overwhelming for this other child. Oh, now I'm responsible for showing them. So we need to be, flexible and assess, is this the right way to do it? Or would I, as an educator, as an adult, being able to tap into the right side of my brain and being regulated, calm, provide acceptance, empathy, would I be the best person to support? Strong bonds create a positive emotional connection to the learning process, promoting a sense of belonging and encouraging active participation. This increased motivation contributes to a more engaging and dynamic learning approach. Building resilience is another one. So strong bonds provide a supportive foundation for learners with special educational needs to develop on that resilience. When faced with challenges, and as we know, having special educational needs is already or can already be seen as a challenge. Having a network of caring educators and peers encourages these students to persevere, to continue, to overcome obstacles, and to build confidence in their abilities, both academically, but also personally. And we need to have a clear understanding that the work that we do with the children will ultimately, like we talked about the ripple effect, have a ripple effect onto their adulthood. They will become our future adults. So all the strategies and support that we give them now, we will see in 10, 15, 20 years' time. And being able, and I think this is something that is often overlooked, being able to teach our children and young adults to deal with failure, but also how to deal with success.
Yes.
Because success comes with so much responsibility.
True.
But we often focus on the deficit. Oh, you've not done that correctly. It's okay, keep trying. But what about the students with special educational needs or without special educational needs that are getting it right all the time? Are they getting it right because they are scared to get it wrong? Are they getting it right because they feel pressured to get it right? Are they getting it right because they feel, if I don't get it right, the teacher will stop liking me, the teacher will stop giving me attention? So it's about understanding, and how can we support on both sides? And promoting social skills and inclusion. So positive relationships between students with special educational needs and their peers can also promote social skills development and inclusion. When strong bonds exist, classmates are more likely to embrace differences, demonstrate empathy, and actively include learners with special educational needs in various activities, creating a socially enriching environment. So, like I've said before, the children will become adults, and we will see this in workplaces as well. It's having that sense of community and understanding that, oh, yes, my friend has autism, and this is how we communicate because it works for him, and I can make the adjustment. So it's good for children to have classmates, children around them that can also provide that empathy and compassion. So it has to be a whole class, a whole school community, culture and environment. And that brings me to my next step, a positive school culture. Strong bonds contribute to a positive school culture that values diversity, inclusivity, mutual respect, mutual understanding, and acceptance. This culture extends beyond the classroom to impact the entire school community, creating an atmosphere where everyone feels valued and supported. And how beautiful it is that this is what the children and young adults are learning in the schools, but when they are out in the community, in the shops, in the cinema, accessing, accessing life, that they can show that empathy and compassion to others, that if they see another child, they won't say, oh, they're naughty, they're misbehaving, why are they screaming? They can have a sense of processing and think they just need help. They are communicating to their adult that they need help, and it's creating that community. Emotional well-being it would be my last one. The creation of strong bonds fosters a sense of emotional well-being for learners with special educational needs. And as we know, that depression and anxiety is really high for learners with special educational needs, as well as low self-esteem. So feeling accepted, appreciated, and supported by educators and their classmates positively impacts the mental and emotional health of these students, contributing to a positive overall learning experience. So in summary, creating strong bonds is fundamental to creating an environment where learners feel they can thrive and progress and evolve.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So it's true, ma'am, when we talk about this word resilience, we really need to teach them, resilience in their life, like ups and downs. So if they are able to face success, they should know how we can face a failure even. So thank you, ma'am, for your clear explanation. I can understand from your examples that how important is building a strong relationship with the school community. Prioritizing positive relationship in schools among students, teachers, and other adults is one of the best ways to improve student outcomes in many areas. From your perspective, what are the long-term effects of incorporating relational practices in education? How do these effects extend beyond the academic realm and impact overall being of students with special educational needs? If you could little bit highlight on that, ma'am.
Yes, of course. So from my understanding, my point of view is that the long-term effects of incorporating relational practices in education are profound and extend beyond the academics, particularly impacting the well-being of students with special educational needs. So what we would see is improved academic outcomes. It creates a positive and supportive learning environment. It enhances the engagement, motivation, and that experience. They will be more likely and willingly to engage and participate in their own education. We will also see enhanced social and emotional development. Building connections with educators fosters a sense of belonging, self-worth, and confidence that goes beyond seeing themselves as not being a part of the school community and their own learning. Increased self-efficacy and confidence. Long-term exposure to relational practices positively influences the self-perception of students with special educational needs. When educators consistently demonstrate belief in their abilities and provide tailored support, students develop a sense of efficacy and confidence. This heightened self-esteem contributes to a more positive outlook on their abilities, both within and beyond the academic context. We will also see strengthened resilience by providing a supportive framework for facing challenges and navigating any setbacks. We will also see community involvement, as I've described before, as positive school culture categorized by strong relationships, inclusive and empathy and compassion benefits not only the students, but like I said, the whole wider community. It fosters a sense of involvement, encourages parents to actively engage with the school, and creates an atmosphere where everyone feels valued, heard, seen, and supported. We will also see long-lasting support networks. The relationships formed through the relational practices will extend beyond the classroom and even beyond years. As students with special educational needs transitioning into secondary school, into higher education, and like I've mentioned before, into the workforce, into employment, or other life journeys, these support networks established during their school years can continue to play a crucial role in their ongoing success and well-being, because those previous supports, teachers, head teachers, can now become mentors.
True.
We will also see holistic well-being. Perhaps most importantly, incorporating relational practices contributes to the holistic well-being of students. Positive relationships address not only academic needs, but also emotional, social, and psychological aspects of a child. The long-term impact is more resilience, confidence, and well-adjusted individuals who is better equipped to face challenges and take on and be able to recognize opportunities later on in life. The skills that they would have learned will now be embedded in them as a person, and they will be able to transfer these into their new friends, into their new personal relationships with their partners, into their marriage or other situations. But also, if they are to choose to have their own children, it can also go as long-term as that. So in conclusion, long-term effects of incorporating relational practices in education extend well beyond the achievement in the classroom. They foster a foundation of support, well-being that positively shapes their personal and academic journey throughout their entire life.
Thank you, ma'am. Indeed, the explanation is practical. Relational practice can foster a foundation of support, resilience, and well-being that positively shapes their personal and academic journey throughout and beyond the school years. How does relational practice align and enhance contemporary educational approaches? And in what ways can educators integrate this practice into evolving educational landscape? If you could little talk about that.
Thank you. So relational practices align closely with and enhance the contemporary educational approaches by embracing learner-centered philosophies, recognizing the importance of social emotional learning and promoting inclusivity. Drawing upon relevant educational theories such as constructivism, social constructivism, and social emotional development theories, educators can integrate these practices into evolving educational landscapes. And I will break that down for us. So constructivist and social constructivist alignment. The relational practices align with constructivist theories, emphasizing that knowledge is actively constructed by the learners. Social constructivism extends by highlighting the role of social interactions in knowledge construction. So for educators, They can integrate relational practices by creating collaborative learning environments. And we know this is true as we progress into adulthood, how the workforce, some of the requirements is all about collaborative working. So if we can start that and nurture it in young ages in the classrooms, we are preparing them for later in life. So encouraging peer interactions, group discussions and debates, and collaborative projects fosters social engagement and aligns with the idea that learning is a social and active process. Social emotional learning and integration, it would be my second theory to explore. So these theories emphasize the importance of developing social and emotional skills alongside academic learning. These skills include self-awareness, self-regulation, and social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. So how can this be integrated? Relational practices inherently address social, emotional learning by focusing on building positive relationships. Educators can explicitly incorporate this into the curriculum, providing structured opportunities for students to develop emotional intelligence and interpersonal skills. So socio-emotional learning activities and discussions can be woven into daily lessons to enhance the overall learning experience. The next principle is the inclusive education principles. So the basis for the theory around this is that inclusive education theories underscore the importance of creating environments that accommodate diverse learning needs and styles. The integration part of this for relational practices is that it contributes to inclusivity by recognizing and valuing the unique strengths and needs of each learner. Educators can integrate inclusive practices by adopting differentiated instruction, providing accommodations, and fostering a sense of belonging for all students. This includes creating flexible learning environments that cater to various learning modalities. And through learning who the child is and what their needs are, they will be able to not just change the curriculum, but also the classroom to reflect any sensory needs. Culturally responsive teaching. And the theory behind this is that culturally responsive teaching theories emphasize acknowledging and respecting the cultural backgrounds and experiences of children or students. And I think this is particularly important as children and young adults from different backgrounds. I think I've talked about this before, not just economic backgrounds, but here we are talking about the impact or the strength of recognizing a student's culture and how that can translate in how they present and communicate is also important, so that everything can be put into context to support the empathy, acceptance, and compassion. So how do relational practices integrate this? It is to align with cultural responsiveness by recognizing the diversity within the classroom. It is not to use a blank approach where everyone is treated equally. It is about empowering. It is about giving that sense of identity and allowing self-expression. Educators can integrate these practices by incorporating culturally relevant materials, acknowledging diverse perspectives and respecting them, and creating a classroom culture that values and celebrates different backgrounds. And this is particularly important for children and young adults with special educational needs, as they will also have different processing styles.
Mm.
So the next one would be personalized and adaptive learning. So the theory behind this is that personalized learning theories advocate for tailoring instruction to meet individual learner needs. Adaptive learning theories focus on leveraging technology to tailor learning experiences. And I think that there's a lot more that we can learn from the impacts of technology, but I'll not go into all of that. So relational practices can be integrated into personalized learning by understanding each student's unique strengths and challenges. Educators can use technology to provide adaptive resources and support while maintaining a strong connection through regular check-ins and feedback. 21st century skills development. So theories on the 21st century skills emphasize the importance of cultivating skills such as critical thinking, collaboration, communication, and creativity. And I would also like to add soft skills such as patience, integrity, work ethics. These are the things that from a very young age, we need to be nurturing and having it embedded into our classrooms. The integration through the relational practices is that by fostering collaboration, effective communication, and critical thinking, educators can use these practices by designing activities that promote problem solving, teamwork, and communication skills, preparing the students for the demands of the contemporary workforce. And this has to go beyond worksheets. It has to involve physical activity, physical. So I give you an example of where we tend to do this in the workforce is we have team building activities where the staff would go on a day out and they will do lots of team building activities. They would problem solve different things throughout the day. And this is what we need so that they can be put into real life examples so that they can learn how to communicate, learn how to have patience, learn how to listen to someone else's ideas and say, okay, maybe my idea is not the best, let's go with yours. It's all about that negotiation and self-awareness. So in conclusion, relational practices align with the contemporary educational theories by emphasizing active learning, social emotional development, inclusivity, cultural responsiveness, and personalized approaches. And in this way, educators can integrate these practices into evolving educational landscapes by incorporating these principles into their teaching methods, the way that they design the curriculum, in their classroom culture, and essentially enhancing the overall learning experience for students.
Thank you very much, ma'am. These approaches are really very convincing, and when integrated in practices can enhance the educational objectives. Moving on to the last question, ma'am. Policies are important as they help a school establish rules and procedures and create standards of quality for learning and safety, as well as expectations and accountability. Without policies, the school will lack the structure and functions necessary to provide the educational need of students. What practical strategies and actionable steps would you recommend for educators and administrators looking to incorporate relational practices into their interactions and institutional policies? How can these strategies be tailored to the unique needs of special education learners? If you could share some of your insights on this.
Yes, of course. As an experienced educator and a scholar, I would recommend the following practical strategies and actionable steps for educators and administrators seeking to incorporate relational practices with a particular focus on tailoring these strategies to the unique needs of special educational needs learners. So the first one would be professional development and training. This is crucial. So the recommendation would be to provide comprehensive professional development for educators on relational practices, emphasizing their importance in fostering a positive and inclusive learning environment. And to have this tailored to special educational needs learners, incorporate specialized training modules that address unique needs and challenges of special educational learners. This can cover strategies for building trust, effective communication, and understanding diverse learning styles. It is important to understand the school's cohort of learners so that the different factors can also be brought into, such as culture, economic factors, and trauma, as I explained before. The second recommendation would be to create a supportive school culture that prioritizes relationships, collaboration, and inclusivity. Establish clear expectations for positive and respectful interactions amongst all members of the school community. The third recommendation would be individualized relationship plans. So it would be to develop relationship plans for special educational learners, outlining specific strategies to build connections and support their unique needs. And this can come in handy, for example, if the teacher is not in school for any reason, or if there's a meeting and the teacher is unavailable, whoever would be covering for that class is able to know what the children in that class need. We wouldn't want to change the child's environment because this may heighten the levels of dysregulation, and it can also be a trigger, which then it wouldn't be in terms of the child's fault or responsibility, but actually the environment has changed. It is us as adults and educators to see how can we adapt and communicate this to the children and young adults so that they can understand what has changed and what support we as the new teacher can put in place for them. The fourth recommendation would be regular check-ins and feedback. So it is to encourage regular check-ins between educators and students to solicit feedback on learning experience and use this information to make continuous improvements. I think this is something that we can really learn from as educators, is to actually ask the children and young adults, how was my lesson today? Is there anything that you would like to see differently next time? It's about having that honesty and self-awareness and actually active listening and learning from the people that are experiencing our service. So as educators, we are providing children with a service, and essentially they are our customers, they are our consumers. And you will see this in business. So I will sort of tap into my business background a little bit. That we often ask adults after they've bought something from a shop, how was your experience? Do you like the product? Is it still working for you? And we should foster that in our children, that they can give us feedback on our presentation, on our teaching, so that they learn from a very young age that their opinion and that their voice matters. And then it's for us as teachers and educators to say and explain, that's a good point, we will change this, we can't change this because. So it's about building, like I said, the resilience that you can't always have your way, but this is the reasons why. You have a good point, this is correct, let's change it. And fostering that culture of community and involvement, so that they can come home and say, oh, Mummy, I've helped the teacher today. And tomorrow you will want to engage more because you are a part of the design of the lesson and the plans. And the teacher can say, I listen to my students. They have said they don't like when I do this. So I'm being more mindful and I'm changing. And it's difficult for us to change. It's difficult for us to accept that maybe a child may have a better idea than us.
True.
But it's about that collaboration. So the next recommendation would be to incorporate the social emotional learning into the curriculum, to explicitly teach and reinforce social and emotional skills. So this is not just for children or the learners, it will also be for the school members, so that we can then model the behaviors and attitudes. To establish a peer support system, such as buddying programs, inclusive group activities to facilitate positive interactions among students. So this is when we give them the strategies, but we also want to see them use it in real life activities, so that they can learn from it, learn from their mistakes. Oh, I didn't listen to my friend. Maybe next time I need to change that. So it's about building that confidence that it's okay to make a mistake.
Yes.
But what have you learned from it? Yes. To have parent and carer involvement would be my next recommendation. So actively involve parents and caregivers in school activities, decision-making processes, and initiatives that promote relational practices. And this can come as workshops for parents to attend, or different activities that the school feels necessary. Continuous evaluation and adjustment. So this would be, as a school, as an education, are we a learning service? And I draw back to my business years, is that as a business, you have to be constantly learning what the customer wants. Customer wants and needs change all the time. It can change by the day, it can change by the hour, it can change by the month. As teachers, as educators, and as a school, and I'll take it a level above, as an education system, are we a learning service? Are we constantly asking ourselves, what do our learners, children and young adults, what do they need from us now? What do they need from education? And the next one would be collaboration with special educational professionals. So like I've mentioned before, the schools may find this in different social media pages. There's also different training and continuous improvement, continuous professional development programs and websites that the professionals can be proactive and sign up for. So it's about taking the lead onto your own personal development. The last one for me would be policy integration. So the schools need to integrate relational practices into their institutional policies, ensuring that they are reflected in the school's mission, values, and code of conduct. So this would help in explicitly stating to the school members, but also to parents and carers, or even external professionals who access the school's website, the commitment that the school has to relational practices and expressing that this is our culture as a school. And that this is the way that we support our learners with special educational needs and the school community as a whole. So I would say, to summarize that, By incorporating these strategies, educators and administrators can create a more inclusive, supportive, and relationship-orientated educational environment. Tailoring these practices to the unique needs of special educational learners ensures that every student can benefit from a positive and meaningful connections throughout their educational journey into their adulthood life, but also ensuring that they leave with the right skills as individuals.
Thank you, ma'am. This was a good justice made to the question. I would like to thank you, ma'am, for your presence today. The discussion about this special education needs was very informative. I really learned a lot. And hopefully these positive changes will take place and your efforts, what you have put in for the relational practices was tremendous, extraordinary, and terrific. Ma'am, this is not the end. Definitely, I would like to meet up again with another gripping and engrossing topic. So let me remind all of you again about our upcoming conference, which is going to be held in Mumbai, India on January 20th to 24th. Ma'am, your presence at the upcoming conference will add more color and honor. Thank you once again, Madam Miriam from UK. And this is Shevar Suher, Head of Early Childhood Department, Senior Lecturer, Amazon College, Bamlapitia, Sri Lanka, taking your leave. Thank you so much again, ma'am.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for inviting me and to this wonderful initiative that International Association for Quality of Education has put together. I really appreciate being here and being able to share some of my knowledge.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Take care.
Thank you.
See you.
Thank you.